gravel grinding and mountain biking too. This is the P-Town Weekend, the Weekend Review.
So welcome to this week's Weekend Review, episode number 45. This week we had a whole bunch of rides, I think 5 rides in total. Only have video from 2 though. Started off on Tuesday, going out on a little road ride just to stretch out the legs from last weekend's gravel adventures with Richard. Then on Wednesday, had a half day at school, so came home and met Ken, and we went out expecting to do about 30-ish miles, so a modest ride for a weekday. And then before we knew it, we were at 40, and then eventually hit 50 and finished with 52 miles out on the day. Don't have any video from that ride either, because really weren't expecting to be out that long. Would have had some nice scenery with some of the snowfalls that we had along the route. We went all the way out to Knoxon and back. Here's a relive clip from that. So headed directly out to the prison, bypassing some of the regular dirt there. And I think this is where the first underestimate of mileage occurred. Usually at that point we would take Cassie Green, but you could see since that was closed with the snow, we had to go all the way out and around. So that was the first one. Here we're coming back into Sweet Valley stuff. There's Soarer Mountain Road taking us down to Knoxon. That's a beauty. And then wrapping back around. Thursday, happy Thanksgiving. Rode out to our family's dinner on the road bike. So just did a one-way route out to there. Nice quick route. Kind of out towards Moon Lake. And took a ride back home from Leah. Then Friday, had our first P-Town out-of-town trip. And we went up to Tunkannock, up by Montour Preserve. Since the trails were still a mess from the snow/mud, we decided to do a graveler up there. So we do have some footage from that. So here we go.
Pack the gear and get to the car. We'll need some maps, we're traveling afar. Some new trails or gravel Renown. This is P-Town, out of
town. Gravel.
It's cold. So we packed up, headed to our breakfast spot, which was McDonald's today for some rapid fueling McGriddles to get us over the mountains that we were anticipating in Tunkannock. So we parked right at the Riverside Recreation area. They have, once you cross the bridge in Tunkannock there, you make that first immediate left. So we started our ride there. Gravel windstorm. Just some crazy beautiful scenery here in the Endless Mountains. And we climbed all the way up to see Maynard, up on Maynard Hill. I think this was the highlight of the ride. This was Creek Road. It took us right along Mahoopany Creek, just cut out of the hillside. Mostly dirt, mostly gradual downhill. Did have a good climb at the end, but we'll not talk about that. But very pretty road. After Creek Road, we crossed the river in Mahoopany, had a big climb on the other side up Mahoopany Ridge, and then after that, kind of made our way into Tunkannock, somewhat of a downhill most of the way. Afterwards, got back to the car at the park, and Ken couldn't wait to get into his changing room. Then we made our way up to Nimble Hill for some wines and beers. So that ended up being a great ride. Weren't sure what we were going to get into again. I mapped out the route, and there wasn't much on gravel maps, so we're just kind of looking at satellite images, hoping for some dirt roads, and did find a lot. Route was good. There was about 5 notable climbs on it, so by the time we got to that last one, Mahoopany Ridge it was called, that was a good one. So definitely glad, especially Leah, to see the car when we were done with that one. Nimble Hill was a good treat after that. And then we also had a pizza party for the holidays at the Sharkbot residence as well afterwards, and we even got to see Richard. So great cap to the end of that ride. Next up, we're going out of town again. This time we're going down to Montour County, that is, at the Montour Preserve is where the ride started. It was hosted by Erick Hyduke. We had a good crew down there. Very beautiful scenery again, as we had in Tunkannock, but a little different, more farmlandy down here, and we had a lot of fog, which actually I think kind of added to the beauty. Even though we couldn't see as far, still made for some neat shots. So here's some clips from that ride.
Pack the gear and get to the car. We'll need some maps, we're traveling far. Some new trails or gravel Renown. This is P-Town, out of town.
So loaded up on our pre-ride grub again and made our way down towards Danville. And the ride started at the Montour Preserve, which I honestly never knew existed. But it's a nice place. Got a lake, boat launch, amenities to use to change and use the restrooms. Good starting location. Had a good sizable group for the ride too. So I think we had 9 people out on the course that day. The ride started off right away with a doozy of a climb up Katie's Church Road. It didn't take us long to realize we were going to get dirty on this ride. And man, the terrain on this ride, like I said, a little different than the Tunkannock ride. We had more rolling hills here and wide open farmland rather than woods. It was just beautiful, especially with the fog. And talk about a ride where you don't see any other cars. I don't know if we saw 5 cars that were on the road we were the whole ride. of the roads, it just felt like you were on somebody's tractor path through their field. Great country, nothing around, just very neat. Man, felt like a kid again. We were all a mess by the time we were done. Even Leah ended up muddy, and she always stays clean, so you know it was bad. So that ride was fantastic. Glad Eric invited us along. Neat area down there. Can't wait to ride there again and explore some of the other roads down there. Afterwards, went to Turkey Hill Brewing Company for dinners and drinks. The whole crew went. It was a great time. And then after that, myself, Leah, Stein, and Ken headed home in our car and heading up that way. We had to hit up Berwick Brewing Company. We passed that as well. So we stopped there for a drink and then made our way back home. See what happens for next week. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Finally, actually kind of sounds weird, but at this point just needs to get a little colder already so everything finally just freezes over so you get on the mountain bikes again without messing anything up. But until then, I think we're in gravel land. Have a good week.
This is the P-Town Weekend, the Weekend Review.
That was a good downhill there.